la cabeza, ya empezamos como es. Mi música no discrimina a nadie, así que vamos a romper. Toda mi gente se mueve, mira el ritmo como los tiene. Hago música que entretiene. El mundo nos quiere, me quiere a mí. Toda mi gente se mueve.
What's good? This is your boy Pt2, and this is going to be part 2 to society and psychological damage. Psychology and society, for the most part, is the name of it. Is what I'll pretty much title it. But this is a continuation where I was going to pick up where I was going to say the problem that I have with segregation and non-segregation is the fact that when they integrated black people into society, they did it in a way that did not give the black people a fighting chance, if you know what I mean. They basically forced it onto white people and they forced it onto black people. And the irony to that is when they forced it, instead of actually like saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do a two-step plan, a three-step plan, a four-step plan, a six-step plan, they literally just forced it onto people who are not okay with it, if you know what I mean. Meaning there was a group of white people that weren't okay with this integration in the least bit. There was a large group of white people that weren't okay with this integration in the least bit. That's where the problem with the integration actually started. On top of that, as I said in other videos, when they integrated black people into society, white society, normal white society, what they did was essentially destroyed the black community, if you know what I mean. So by integrating black people into the white society, they technically destroyed the black community, because there used to be black community all over the place and blacks used to stick together and they used to do that. By doing that, they basically made blacks more selfish in the way they are today, on top of the psychological damages of 400, 500 years of slavery, depending on what part of the country you were in. And that's the overall problem. Like I said, I have no problem with that, but at the same time, you got to do it properly. You got to do it in a way that is very good, very proper, and very stable. That's a very stable situation. However, like I said, they forced it upon people who didn't want it. And the people who they were forcing into the incident was pretty much people who were unsure that that was a good idea, to actually be forced into a situation and making people accept stuff. The problem is you can't make somebody accept something that they were taught to dislike, hate, disregard, and treat like shit. That just all that do is just build more resentment against a certain group of people, if you know what I mean. Because it makes it look like you're favoring that group of people now, even though you told us for so many years that this group of people ain't shit. So now you're forcing us to be okay with a group of people that technically you've told us for years ain't shit. And by doing that, you literally made the black Americans literally ain't shit. Because when they, like I said, when they were in their communities, they were perfectly fine. Unfortunately, there were a lot of other people who weren't fine with them being in their other community, if you know what I mean. There was a shit ton of people who were upset that the fact that they had their own community and their communities were doing really, really nice. Hell, there were people who used to borrow money from their community and never paid, and with the intentions of never paying them back. Let that shit sink in. Let that shit swirl around in your head. White people used to go to their community to borrow money because their banks wouldn't lend them no money, all to do that just so they never paid black people back, because they didn't believe that black people should be paid the fuck back. However, despite the fact that white people did that, those banks somehow, some way still survived. Unlike our banks somehow, some way always collapsing over some bullshit, the black banks somehow, some way always survived. Shit like that. And that's the problem that I have with it. Like, literally by integrating black people into, I mean, don't get me wrong, I believe in living, sometimes you can be a society together but separate, because sometimes togetherness isn't for everybody. especially for people who were taught to hate a group of people for so long. You can't just enforce them to like a certain group of people because the U.S. government says so, and we're sending FBI in to walk them into school. No, it doesn't work like that. Just because you send FBI in to walk them to school every day, that don't mean that everybody's going to like them. Hell, I don't think some of the FBI agents even like them. But that's just neither here nor there. And that's the problem that I have with society. Instead of actually dealing with it, you force it onto people. Here's where the problems lie. Then when you force it onto people, they hang around white people and they get told they ain't shit. They hear this shit for so many years and they start believing this stuff. Then on top of that, you got the crack epidemic, or the crack epidemic that rocked, the heroin epidemic or crack epidemic that rocked the hood in the 70s. And everybody else outside the hood pretty much looked the other way, like it's not happening. Or they'll say, well, I don't understand why they just don't quit, or just say no, or, they should just quit, or not do it at all. And it was never a problem because it was just black people, and that's their problem. Fast forward to today, we have an opioid epidemic in the Virginias and other states that are suffering with white people. Now all of a sudden, it's a problem. And we got to do something about it. And now we got retreats to rehab centers and stuff like that. And your health insurance accepts it, and this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden, because it's white people, now it's an epidemic and it's a problem. However, when we were forcing this shit on black people, when we turned from coke to crack and force it on black people, it wasn't a problem. They should just say no. I don't understand why they're doing this. Now all of a sudden it's white people, it's a problem now. I look at it like this. The same way you looked at black people when you said that, you should just say no. I don't understand why you're doing this. You should better yourself. This, that, and the other. All the fucking above. That is the problem that I have with the overall psychology of society, if you know what I mean.